On this edition of Somerville Neighborhood News, the 2016 presidential primary race comes to Massachusetts, what you need to know before heading out to the polls, taking the campaign to the streets, and getting young voters involved. Plus, a look back at the GLX project's rocky beginnings, and Somerville's Poet Laureate reads for us. All that and more tonight on Somerville Neighborhood News.
Hello and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. I'm Melanie Morris. Today is Tuesday, February 23rd, 2016. We're starting tonight's show with a look at everything you need to know about voting in next Tuesday's presidential primary here in Massachusetts. Somerville's polling places will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, March 1st. There are 21 polling places throughout the 7 wards in Somerville. Polling places are listed at the City of Somerville Election Department's page. If you're not sure where to vote, use the Find Your Polling Place button in the middle of the page. Remember, if you are a registered Republican or Democrat, you must vote in that party's primary. Unenrolled voters, often known as independents and members of lesser parties, can choose which ballot to take at the polls, and you'll remain unenrolled or a member of your original party after voting. Ballots are prepared long before the primary day arrives, so candidates no longer in the race will still be listed on the ballot. With so much activity, let's take stock in who's still running. On the Republican side, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, and John Kasich are still in the race. If you're choosing a Democratic ballot, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and San Diego businessman Rocky de la Fuente are still running. And if you are choosing a Democratic ballot, you'll have plenty of company. Here's a breakdown of Somerville voters. There are 23,000 registered Democrats in Somerville, 1,800 Republicans, and 19,000 independent-thinking, unenrolled voters. Absentee ballots are available if you're going to be out of town or otherwise can't make it to the polls. Stop by the Somerville Elections Office or download an absentee ballot application from the Secretary of State's website at www.sec.state.ma.us. Absentee ballots must be received at the Somerville Election Office by noon on the day before the election. You can also mail it in or hand deliver it to City Hall. Political icon and Cambridge neighbor Tip O'Neill coined the phrase, "All politics are local." Even in a presidential election, hitting the streets and manning the phones to ask for votes is a key component of campaigning. We contacted all the candidates to find out about their ground game to get out the vote here in Somerville. Somerville for Bernie is the only campaign that responded to our request. Volunteers were out over the weekend, hoping to convince voters to feel the burn. Reporter Lauren Anyanejo joined one team of canvassers when they hit the streets.
My name is Toby Erner. I'm out here today canvassing in Somerville for Bernie Sanders.
My name's Ben Bath, and I'm out here canvassing for Bernie Sanders.
This is our opportunity. We have a candidate that is actually putting forward policies and proposals that will directly improve the lives of the working class.
But people are very friendly. People are happy to talk. Got to ring on doorbells and hand out leaflets and let them know about his positions. People often want you to tell them a little something about his positions. They don't just they want to have a conversation about it. But we're just thrilled to be out here.
This election, at least for me, it feels very, very different than other elections that I've worked on in the past. There's just a really lively discussion happening across our country, unlike anything that I've seen in the past decade. It takes an ability to listen and see where people are coming from, to be open to hearing about people's lives and experiences, issues that concern them, and just a willingness to connect with people. I think it's like, what kind of America do you want to live in? You know, this is our opportunity.
No, we're just thrilled to be out here. It's really not that hard to do, and if people support Bernie Sanders, we encourage everybody to get involved in the campaign. It doesn't take any particular set of skills. You come on in and, you know, be enthusiastic about it, and we'll get it. You know, we're all working on it together.
Bernie Sanders has been credited with inspiring young voters to get involved in the political process. Here in Somerville, 33% of residents are renters, and many of those are students or recent graduates with no roots in the city. What is their role in the political and civic process? Reporter Lauren Anyanejo continues her primary coverage at a meeting of the Young Somerville Advisory Group.
How do we navigate political and civic engagement as people who may leave, and that could be okay for that, whether or not that's a bad thing, but that to have some kind of civic engagement that allows for addressing the short-term needs of a population.
The Young Somerville Advisory Group launches its first event of the year, targeting young residents with one question in mind: where is our representation? The lack of political engagement by millennials in Somerville motivated the advisory group to look for answers.
So, you know, most of the people who are here tonight, a couple of people said it toward the end of the event, are fairly new residents to Somerville. Most of them are college educated. Most of them didn't grow up in Somerville. Most of them don't come from the immigrant or refugee community here in Somerville.
The top issues that concerned young people were jobs and affordable housing. Elizabeth Weinblum ran an unsuccessful campaign for Ward 6 Alderman last fall. Andre Green won his race for the Ward 4 school committee seat in the same election. Both agreed campaigning in a majority renter city is difficult.
I was saying before about identifying super voters and going after the people who you know are going to show up. Yes, that is in fact the best strategy, and it's a strategy that I didn't follow, and that's why I'm not alderman. But it was sort of was it's what one was told to do is like, oh, just go after the people who vote every time. Well, those weren't the people I was most interested in representing.
So for me, the economic issues of affordability quickly transcended the issues of age, in part because when I was looking for young people to vote, they weren't there.
Somerville resident Sabrina Antoine has lived in the city for 2 years. She says she loves it here, but fears that living here long-term might not be possible.
I thought Somerville was just a booming area, and I still think Somerville is a booming area. And I wanted to see how I can spend many years living here until I realized, like, wait a minute, gentrification is real, and it's in the city. And how do I fit in this picture?
The meeting addressed the stereotypes that shadow most young professionals during election season.
Basically, it's assumed that we don't vote, it's assumed that we don't own property, and it's assumed that we're not going to stay for more than 5 years. And in order to change that, the two most powerful things that people can do to change that is A, to register to vote, and B, to show up at meetings and just speak for yourself.
Many came away with a greater commitment to staying engaged and educating others.
The more I can educate myself, the more I can help other people be educated. And also, you know, now that I've come here and I see how much they really value the voting, definitely gonna make sure I go more often and get my parents to go and, you know, my siblings to go as well. So,
Young Somerville is encouraging discussions on specific topics relevant to young people. The group created action forces focusing on housing, technology, arts and culture, and environment sustainability. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Laura Onyenaho.
There's still time to register for the November general election. You can register in person at the election department at Somerville City Hall, and for the first time, you can register online at the Massachusetts Secretary of State's website, www.sec.state.ma.us/OVR. And if you really want to see how an election runs, the Somerville Election Department is hiring poll workers for the March 1st primary. For more information on this opportunity, contact Somerville Elections Department at 617-625-6600, extension 4200, or just stop by the elections office at City Hall. Now, let's see what's happening this week at the Somerville Journal.
Hello, this week in the Somerville Journal we'll have the latest on the fight between Mayor Joe Curtatone and Wynn Casinos. We'll look at an effort to get young people more involved in local politics, and we'll check in on the Somerville High School track team and their performance at state. You can always find us online at somerville.wickedlocal.com or on Twitter at VilleJournal, and you can get in touch with me at 617-629-3385 or datkinson@wickedlocal.com.
With so much focus on the future of the Green Line Extension project and what impact, changes, or even cancellations will have on Somerville, we wanted to look back at how and why the extension project came about. In 2006, filmmaker and current SCAT board member Bob Nesson produced Off Track, a documentary on the birth of the Green Line Extension project. Here's an excerpt.
For more than 15 years, Somerville residents have demanded the state keep its promise to extend the Green Line.
Oh, I'm here to make sure that we actually get the Green Line we were promised.
Cleaner air and better transportation have been the goals. The state agreed in 1991 that extending the Green Line would cut traffic and reduce harmful emissions. Somerville residents are still waiting. By the 1980s, the state began the $15.1 billion project to bury Boston's elevated central artery. There was little left for public transportation.
We have the green light for a bold and urgent civic enterprise.
With engineering companies lining up to build it, the civic enterprise largely ignored the health consequences of traffic and focused sharply on highway solutions to economic growth.
Together, these projects will sustain economic growth and break the logjam in the regional transportation system.
Replacing the long-promised Green Line to Somerville and Medford with bus service would save a bundle. To test the reaction of citizens, the state held a series of public meetings. More than 500 Somerville residents attended this one at the State House.
This meeting is being held to inform interested parties and take public comments to make decisions on the 3 remaining Central Artery Tunnel Project transit commitments.
Communities were pitted against each other for funding. Those with the strongest voice would help determine which project would move forward.
We have been trying to refine the information about all 3 projects. As many of you know, we've been doing alternatives analysis in Somerville relative to the Green Line extension, trying to get better information about the benefits associated with it, the cost, the environmental impacts. We'll be using that new data to update our information. And we will be measuring things like time savings, transfer reductions, and we'll come up at the end with a measurement called user benefit, and they record it in an hourly basis, and then we'll know how many user benefit hours a project brings to the user, and we'll use that as one of the criteria.
The MBTA guarantees that if your service is delayed more than 30 minutes, your ride is free. What do the people of Somerville get for waiting more than 7 million minutes for service?
Things like efficiency, transfer, mobility, they're convenient, but they're not the key issue. What we need are the 3 major projects that actually make a difference in the quality of our air.
Somerville is, I repeat, is the most densely populated city in New England, a city of almost 80,000 people and 4.1 square miles that is closer to downtown Boston than most neighborhoods in Boston. Has 4 rail lines cutting through the city, carrying 8 different commuter or subway lines, but we have just one stop, the Davis Square T-stop, the Red Line.
How do you stop this process right now? Whose decision is it not to do this? That's my question. The process itself is flawed. You should not be doing this. There is no reason why you cannot be keeping your promise. And we all know that justice delayed is justice denied. And this is serious justice denied.
From 1996 through 2000, Somerville had 145 excess lung cancer and heart attack deaths, yet residents smoke less than average.
trying to build the big dig. You got caught. And then, when your feet were held to the fire, you were required to live up to specific commitments. And today, 15 years later, you're telling us that you're just about thinking about making substitutions. Shame on you.
The battle over the Green Line continued outside the hearings. In early January 2005, the Conservation Law Foundation threatened legal action.
Today, Boston area drivers benefit from easier commutes thanks to the most expensive tunnel system in history. But that's not enough. Hundreds of thousands of Boston area residents and workers, many of whom can't afford the expense of traveling by car, are still waiting for the Commonwealth to make good on its transit commitments. Today, the Conservation Law Foundation served a notice of intent to sue the Commonwealth for its non-fulfillment of many of the transit commitments that were first made in 1990 and that were reaffirmed just 5 years ago.
More hearings followed the legal action, and citizens pressed their point.
Interesting. I don't think we should be having a conversation about whether the Green Line should be coming to Somerville, but perhaps we should be having a discussion of when it should be coming.
I'd like to know if any of you took public transportation to come to this meeting, and if not, why not?
The effort intensified with a letter-writing campaign targeted directly to state officials. Finally, on May 18, the struggle for the Green Line took a sudden turn.
We are committing to not only build the Green Line that was originally called for in 1990 that would have stopped at Medford Hillside, but we would like to build it, assuming that all the permitting can be obtained and the cities are comfortable with it, to West Medford and also to Union Square. So 2 branches.
Everybody get up, get up, get up, get up!
It seemed like a good time to celebrate, but since then, progress in financing on the Green Line has lagged far behind planning goals.
We will continue to cover the project review and its impact on the Somerville community. The current review group is scheduled to deliver its report to the MBTA and Department of Transportation boards in mid-May. Next, colon cancer is the 3rd most common cancer besides skin cancers in the U.S. The American Cancer Society estimates 95,000 new cases will be diagnosed this year alone. Screening, early detection, and improved therapies are increasing survival rates. Dr. Ira Michelson takes on this life-saving topic no one wants to talk about in tonight's Health Minute.
Dr. Ira Michelson for the Somerville Neighborhood News. I want to talk to you today about colonoscopy, one of my favorite subjects. When you hit age 50, your doctor is going to recommend that you get a colonoscopy. This is an exam of the large intestine intended to prevent the progression of polyps, which are generally in there in silence, to cancer. There are 160,000 new cases of colon cancer every year in the United States, and unfortunately, the mortality from this is still very high. We lose about 45% of the patients to colon cancer. So it's very important that these things be found early so that we can prevent the progression from polyps to cancer. So your doctor will recommend at age 50 to have a screening exam. Screening means no symptoms, and yes, it's covered by insurance. The exam is simple. The preparation takes less than a day. You'll take a laxative at home. In the morning, you come in to the testing center. They'll ask you a lot of questions and get you ready, put in an intravenous, put on monitoring equipment. When they're ready to go, you'll be put to sleep. The exam is performed. The doctor will take pictures. Any polyps can be removed. And if the polyp should contain cancer, it's cured. So this is an exam that can definitely save your life. It's a simple exam. It's been done millions of times since the 1970s when it began. We know a lot about it. Practitioners have had special training in order to perform this exam. So do yourself a favor, get a colonoscopy once every 10 years. It may save your life. For the Somerville Neighborhood News, Dr. Ira Michelson, thank you.
Remember, you can watch Dr. Michelson on Taking Back Your Health, Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Channel 3, or of course, anytime here on scattvsomerville.org. February is Black History Month. Sometimes history is happening right in front of us. Last year, Nicole Terez Dutton was named Somerville's first Poet Laureate. The talented Somerville resident shares one of her poems with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Nicole Terez Dutton, and I'm happy to share a poem called Miles and Diz. Miles and Diz is a poem that I wrote after having read Miles Davis's autobiography, in which he discussed how valuable the mentorship and friendship of Dizzy Gillespie was to him in his life and his career. Miles and Diz. Not knowing the upper registers, you play what I play, an octave lower, and so we will travel together, stomping the concrete, riding in elevators, laughing into those astonished faces that slam like wooden shutters when the lights come up. Our fingers snag the vision behind those one-way glass eyes that distill whole lifetimes to hair grade, to dollar signs, to lips buckled into grinning and calling it jungle music instead of love. Even while they wait 20 deep in a trance of disbelief, the lines we toss back and forth eclipse the lasting myth of otherness. Live beautiful versions of life in someone's phonographic recollection, and yet this dark skin goes substantial as shadow when the lights come up. Well then, let them call us crazy. We do not have to travel uptown to feel our hearts gallop beneath the immaculate creases of our Brooks Brothers suit, man. We pull on that silver, valve by sweat, by blood, by breath, lifting it up to our beautiful lips. Valve by sweat, by blood, by breath, we let the whole ocean sing through us. Valve by sweat, by blood, by breath, we lay it down and we spell it out as we cannot help but bleed, as the wealth of this dark inheritance bids us, as our original alphabet gave birth to the circumstance of language. The tectonics of each and every line splinters mountain chains from prairie side as we break our bodies into dancing, as we break laws not already on the books. We break beats down. Storm fronts rise from riptides, and the jugular of that dangerous brown Mississippi opens wide. Her throat vaulting into a howl brings aftershocks so fierce the constellations crash down around us every time we open our mouths. And this we say on that bandstand because we can. So you play what I play, and we will travel together, my brother. We have lived 1,000 lifetimes within the precise architecture of night, and every time the story is the same. Black, fine, two broken hearts perfected by fire.
Ms. Terez Dutton is currently conducting a 3-part workshop with seniors at the Council on Aging. On our next show, we'll bring you their collaboration and meet some new aspiring poets. That's our newscast for tonight, folks. We'll be back on March 8th at 7 p.m. on Channel 3. Check out all of our news stories at somervilleneighborhoodnews.org. Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCAT TV. We invite you to get involved. Visit our Facebook page, SCAT TV SNN, to comment. Tweet us at SCAT TV SNN. Or call us at 617-628-8826. And of course, you can always email us at news@scatvsomerville.org. I'm Melanie Morris. Thanks for joining us. As we leave you tonight, reporter Jeanette Origel takes the pulse of Somerville voters. We'll see you around the neighborhood.
Who do you think is going to win the Massachusetts primaries?
I mean, I have a lot of support from my man Bernie, and I just think he can pull through. The amount of percent of support that he's gone up is ridiculous. So I just think that he can really pull through on this one.
Donald Trump.
I'm pretty sure Bernie Sanders is gonna win. I just have the feeling Barack Obama was oh, Mitt Romney. I think it's sort of like that. Otherwise, if someone in the Republican primary that's not Donald Trump shows up, then we'd really have to talk issues.
It's hard to call, given what we've seen about New Hampshire and Iowa. I'm hoping that the best suited candidate wins.
I think I'm voting for Bernie because it's not often you get to vote for a candidate like that. But I'd be satisfied with Hillary also. So.
I wish it could be Trump, yeah.
And why do you like Donald Trump so much?
The way he speaks is mine. I like it.
I hope Bernie Sanders. I think it's pretty impressive that he was kind of a Vermont senator that no one really knew about, and right now he's pretty much beating Hillary out.